Welcome back to another video of Great Stack. In this video, we are going to create random code generator using React.js. As you can see on my screen, here is the code, author name, random code button. If I click here, it will change the code and also provide the author name of this code. When I click here, it will share this code on the Twitter platform. So when I click here, as you can see, it redirected me to Twitter. Here is my code. Here is the author name. I can easily post this code on my Twitter platform. Let's move to our desktop screen to create this awesome random code generator. First, we will create a new folder, random code. We will open this folder in VS Code editor. Now we will open integrated terminal. To create a React project, we will use npx create react app dot. By using dot, we can create a React project in same directory. So we will hit enter. Now we will run this project using npm start command. As we can see, our React project is running. Now we will clean this default React project. To do that, we have to go in our VS Code editor. We have to go in src folder, app.js. We will remove this imported logo. We will remove this class name. Now we will remove the header tag. We will save it. Now our default React project is cleared. Now we will change the title of the project. In public folder, index.html, here we will change the title. Now we will save it. Now our project title has been changed. Now we will create folder structure for our React project. In src folder, we will create a new folder, components. Inside the components folder, we will create a assets folder. Inside the components folder, we will create one more folder for our random code component. Now we will create one new file, randomcode.jsx. Now we will convert this JSX file into component using RAFC. Now we will save it. Now we will create a CSS file for this component, randomcode.css. Now we will import this CSS file in our component. To do that, we have to write import directory of our CSS file. Now we will save it. Now we will mount this component in app.js. So we will go in app.js. Here we write opening arrow, random. As you can see, our component is visible in the snippet. We will click here. It will automatically import our component file in app.js. Here we write slash closing arrow. Now we will save it. Now we had successfully mounted random code component in app.js. Now we will go in random code.jsx file. First, we will create a use state variable for storing our quote. So here we will create const. So here we will give variable name quote, function name set quote equals use state. Now we will initialize this variable with a object which contains a quote and its author name. So we will use this quote as our default quote. Now we will design HTML structure for this component. We will give container class name to this div. Inside this div, we will create a div with class name quote. Here we will insert our quote object. So here we will write parenthesis quote. We need quote text. So here we will write quote dot text. It will provide me the text key value. Here we will create a div. Inside this div, we will create a div with class name line. Now we will create a div with class name bottom. Inside the bottom div, we will create a div with class name author. Inside this div, we will insert data of quote author. So we will write parenthesis. Inside this, we will write quote dot author. Now we will save it. Now we will create a div with class name icons. Inside the icons div, we will insert two images tag. Now let's insert the images in our assets folder and import it in our component. So we will right click here, reveal in File Explorer. Here are the icons which we need. So we will copy it and go to our src folder, components, assets folder. Here we will paste our images. Now our images are inserted into assets folder. Now we will import these images in our component. So here we will write import Twitter icon from directory of our image. So here we write double dot slash assets folder slash Twitter x png. We will import one more image, reload icon from double dot slash assets folder slash reload.png. Now we will save it. We will provide these images to our image tag. So in this image src, we will provide reload icon. In this image src, we will provide Twitter icon. We will save it. Now we will change background color of our React project. To do that, we will go in index.css. Here we will write height 100 viewport height, background I had used this color code for the background. Now we will save it. Now let's go to our browser As we can see, our quote and author name is here, and our reload button and Twitter sharing button is here. Now we will give a style to this component. Now we will give CSS properties to this container class name. So here we will write dot container. We will give display flex direction column, align items center, margin auto, margin top 250 pixels, background. I had given this color code to the background. We will give width of 800 pixels. We will provide border radius 15 pixels. Now we will save it. Now we will give a style to this quote. So here we will write dot quote. We will give padding of 60 pixels from up and down, 110 pixels from left and right. Color white. Font size 32 pixels. Text align center. Now we will save it. Now I had increased the text size of the quote and given padding of 60 pixels from up and down and 110 pixels from left and right, and also provided color white. Now we will give a style to this line class name. Here we write dot line. We will give width of 680 pixels, height of 1.5 pixels, background white. We will save it. Now our line is visible. Now we will give a style to this bottom class name dot bottom. We will give display flex direction row, justify content space between, align items center, margin of 30 pixels from up and down, 0 pixels from left and right. Now we will save it. Now our bottom part of this component gets a structure. Now we will give properties to this author class name. So here we write dot author. We provide color white, font size 20 pixels, font weight 500. We will save it. As you can see, our changes are reflecting. Now we will give properties to this icons class name. Here we write dot icons. We will give display flex, gap of 40 pixels between icons, Now inside the icons class name, we will give properties to image tag. We provide cursor pointer, height of 36 pixels. Now we will save it. As we can see, a style of our component is ready. Now we will add functionalities to this reload button and Twitter sharing button. First, we will create a variable quotes which is an array. Inside this variable, we will store all the quotes data which we fetch from the API. Now we will create a function load quotes to fetch the API and store the data in this quotes variable. To fetch the data from the API, we will create a sync function. Now we will create a response variable to store the response from the API. So we will use type fit API to fetch the codes from the API. Now we will parse this JSON data and store it in quotes variable. So here we write quotes equals await response dot JSON method. Now we will save it. Now we will call this function right here. So whenever our components load in the browser, it will execute this function and this function will get data from the API and store it in our quotes variable. Now we will create two functions. One is for reload button and other one is for Twitter sharing button. So here we will create random function using arrow functions. In this function, we will randomly select a quote from this quotes variable and assign it into our quote variable. So here we will write const select equals quotes. Inside the quotes, we will use math.floor method. Inside the math.floor, we will use math.random. We will multiply this value with quotes.length. So math.random provide a number between 0 and 1. We are multiplying this number with the length of the quotes and we are removing the decimal places using math.floor. By using this function, we can randomly generate a number for our quotes variable which will help us to select a random quote from the quotes variable. Now we will assign this quote in our use state variable. So here we will write set quote. We will give select variable. Now we will save it. If we click on the random function, it will give a random quote from the quotes variable and assign it into our quotes use state. After creating this function, we have to go in image reload icon. Here we will use onClick function. Passing an arrow function. Here we call random function. So if we click on the reload icon, it will execute the random function. If we click on this reload button, it will generate random code with its author name. As you can see, it's working, but we also get type.fit from the API. So to remove this text from the author name, we will use split method. So here we will use dot split. Inside the split, we will pass comma key and we will access 0th element from this split. Now we will save it. Now we had successfully removed the text. If we click here, it is generating random codes with its author name. Now we will add a dash before the author name. Here we will add a dash, a space and save it. Now our reload button is fully functional. Now we will give functionality to this Twitter sharing button. So here we will create a arrow function for our Twitter sharing button. Inside the function we will use window.open. By using window.open, we can open a URL in a new tab. So here we will insert template literals. Here we will give URL which we use to share our code. We will give text is equal to, here we will use a variable. So we will use $, parenthesis. Inside this we will give code.text. Now dash. We will give one more variable which is our author name. So we will copy this author name from here and we will paste it here. Now we will connect this function to our Twitter icon. So here we will write on click, passing an arrow function. Inside this function we will write Twitter function. Now we will save it. Now if we click on this reload button, it is generating random codes, and if we click on this Twitter sharing button, it will open a new tab to share this code on the Twitter post. So here is our code. Here is our author name. Now we had successfully created the random code generator using React.js. Thanks for watching this video. In our next video, we will create more projects in React.js.